Chris Melling checking the rack, and he's not looking for a problem. He's just looking to see if there's any gaps anywhere, because that will have an effect on how he breaks. As I mentioned, we did a breaking masterclass with him earlier, and we'll hopefully unveil that to you in the grand final. And there's some real eye-openers in there. I think it's definitely one that you'll want to watch, because he's got some real tricks up his sleeve. He was talking about his perfect break and landing that cue ball plumb in the middle of the table, but he's just let that one get away from himself. Just got kicked in off. It's good to see Gareth Hibbott. So of course this match is winners qualification, so this will be to go into the last 16. 8 players from losers qualification later tonight, and 8 players from winners qualification will both go into the last 16. So a big game, this one. This means you get yourself an early ride for the rest of the day. You literally can go on home and have a nice relaxing evening and pitch up to start again at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, or midday, or whenever it starts tomorrow. And the difference between that and toiling away for the rest of the evening through that losers section, so important for both players. And 2 former world champions. Both very attacking, aggressive players. I make no secret of the fact that I'm a big fan of Gareth Hibbott's. I love the way he attacks the game. I love his vision for the game. He's also pretty good in the commentary box. He's a great guy to have alongside you. He's got a very relaxed demeanour, and he knows his way around the table, as you would expect from a former world champion. It's not that long ago either. It was only 2015, I think, that he won his world title. Or was that Whelan's year? Was it 16 that Hibbott had it? I think it was 15. I can double check later. I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong. But also Chris Melling has been around the scene at the top of the game for many years, and now and again this Supreme Series has thrown up some fabulous draws, and this is another one of them. Right at the top there, Oli Bale against Omar Manchid, 7 each. Adam Basu is not making it easy for Liam Dunster. Liam, I think, was 4-1 up, and now he's 5-4. Ben Flack on the hill against Chris Gill. Sean Story on the hill against Sam Bircher. And in that winners qualification, you see those games. Mark Borges Graham is a televised table, table 3. Craig Waddingham, Steve Petty. Neil Raybone, Phil Harrison. Jamie Burnett against Sean Chipperfield is across on table 4. Dave Fernandez, Tom Cousins, Jimmy Croxton, and Dad. And for those of you who may notice, there's one game missing. And that's going to be the game on table 11, which is Declan Brennan and Shane Thompson, which will get going as soon as the Sean Story Sam Bircher game is finished. And that game has just finished. Sean Story won that 8-6. So well done to him. Another nice developing shot. It's not come out quite as he would have hoped, but he is okay. He's got a thin snick to the left middle. Just looking now at where the cue ball's going to be going. Just needs to be careful because the natural angle just tracks it towards that black, and that's exactly what he was looking at. He was looking at the black getting pushed towards the bottom right corner. Could have easily overhit that and lost the frame, and he knew that. He was acutely aware of that, and he played it at a great pace. And he's okay. He's going to have to reroute, go up table now. He's got options. He can take these two at the bottom of the table. He can take the ones at the top of the table. He's going to clear the bottom of the table first. Needs that to bounce. Left it a bit skinny, but he's okay. I think he can come twice across table now. So he'll be aiming cue ball about a foot or so just below the left middle, and then right cushion to bring the cue ball back up into bulk. He may just be able to dig into it, actually. He may just be able to play it off of one cushion. It really just depends on the angle. It's always difficult to see from this camera angle. I think it's not quite as thin as it looked on the other one. So I think he can probably just dig into it and hold the cue ball. There you go. Right. I mean, he had an absolute a mile to play into there. His margin of error was huge. Even if he'd have hit a ball, he was guaranteed to be on that red. Massive margin of error. He'll just drag this one in. You can see him dragging it with right hand side just to check the cue ball off the top rail. And this one, again, he'll be playing this with check side or left hand side to bring the cue ball through that gap. He may come around two cushions. Really, again, it's just a question of choice, but just keeping it simple. Playing it with left hand side, checking it through that gap to leave himself this simple black. And that's a really nice clearance. Very well made. And this is the best of Gareth Hibbott. So Central Vehicle Leasing is the title sponsor. And just have a look at some of those deals. I might be looking at one of those myself, you know. There's some great deals on there. 330 BMW for 300 a month. Some super deals. And also thanks to all of the other sponsors, to the Supreme the title sponsor for this series is obviously Supreme, and you see the Supreme winner table. And what a view that is! What a great table! Great view of the table. Great view of the arena. Looks fantastic. And also to Strachan, who have made this this cloth and supplies the cloth for the event. To PPV Guru, to the Shark Rack, and also to Aramith, everyone that makes this event possible. incredibly missed the ball completely. Could be slightly bemused with that. It's pretty much handed the frame to Gareth. You can see Chris with a frown, wondering what just happened there. There's going to be no messing with this clearance. Gaz is a very quick player. No messing, no fuss. He's not the absolute quickest on the scene, but he is very, very quick, very fast. He's overhit that one. And there we are. Takes no time in getting to 3-0.
Fourth frame, Gareth Hibbott to break, leading by 3 frames to 0. Time ready.
And very soon Chris is going to find himself 4-0 behind. Sorry, this is Chris at the table. This obviously from a dry break, wasn't it? Yeah, Gareth's dry break. Sorry, I just looked away for a second. I was just looking at some other scores. But, we saw Chris against Jordan in the opening game of the day, and he was playing some sublime pool. He needs to refine it here. He plays that shot so well, doesn't he? I mean, he's normally got a long bridge anyway, but when he's bridging so far from the ball there, I mean, try that one day. When you're bridging like halfway down your cue, it's so difficult to control. And he's played a couple of those shots today and played them really well. So Chris breaks frame number 5. We'll have a look at his break the next time he breaks, and I'll mention a couple of things that he mentioned during that masterclass without any spoilers, but just a couple of interesting pointers. Looks a bit betwixt and between here. May only have the yellow long. I think everything's covering each other. Very tidy. We're seeing both players at their best here. One frame in it now from being 3-0 behind. There you see the 2 remaining games from losers round 2. Adam Basu and Liam Dunster at 6 each. Ben Flack and Chris Gill at 7 each. Big games, obviously. Adam Basu pushing Liam Dunster all the way. Shane Thompson's taken the first from Declan Brennan. Neil Raybone's fighting back against Phil Harrison. Tom Cousins 3-0 against Dave Fernandez. Tom said in the interview the other day he was going to win this weekend. He's at the spin. No. He's trying to get another couple of inches out just to leave this yellow drop in. He's got another option, which you can see through the gap. He's going to have to take it. But suddenly the clearance is a little more difficult. And that one again, I'm not sure what happened there. I'm not sure if he had a little kick, or I think actually he just hit it a bit thicker than he meant to, because he was trying to get that cue ball another 6 inches off the rail to leave this yellow straight so he could just drop it in and then leave the other yellow up the rail. But now he's having to find that very narrow gap. Yeah, and he didn't, and that may and should cost him the frame again. And this one shortly should be 3 frames each. That was a very makeable ball, but he needed to get that cue ball just another couple of inches, 4 or 5 inches up the table, and it was virtually an unmissable clearance. And again, we see those fine margins come into play quite well. Could be the difference between 4-2 and 3 each. Chris has just found a lovely rhythm. He had this same rhythm against Jordan. When he gets into it, he's a very, very tough opponent. Just a delightful touch. Cue ball on a string. Couldn't have placed that better by hand. On an absolute string. I have to say, this is a different Chris Melling than I've seen in any other event here at Newcastle Under Lyme. And I've watched him play a very, very good number of times over the last 2 years. He's got a spring in his step. He is a very different player. Mark Ball's 3-0 up against Jez Graham. Steve Petty 4-3 against Craig Waddingham. Phil Harrison 3-2 against Neil Raybone. Shane Thompson 2-0 against Declan Brennan. Hibbott, Melling tied together. As we can see, Sean Chipperfield 2-1 against Jamie Burnett. Cousins 3-1 against Dave Fernandez. Jimmy Croxton half and Dad 2 apiece in the losers round 3. Craig Marsh 3-2 against Leiden de Bono. Rob Warren 5-3 against Jordan Shepherd. Scott Gillespie, Sean Story 1 each. Adam Davis 3-1 against Greg Batten. Clint Ianson 5-3 against Mark Billingsley. Back to the action. Gareth Hibbott at the table. So now then, what's the plan with the black? Try and nudge it out? Or try and land above it? I think he has to try and nudge it out. No, he doesn't. Oh, well, it goes. Didn't realise what a lovely shot that is. Again, a delightful touch. Didn't realise it went through that gap. Should have spotted that one. Look at that. Oh, wow. Flick the red. Did not expect that. That must have been much tighter than I first imagined. The only bonus is that the black's gone adjacent to the red, but Don't fancy that's going to save him. I think Chris Melling will be getting into that very soon. The cue ball's just come far enough. Just given him an angle. I think he can, just has enough here that he can stun across, cushion first, and come in behind that red. May not. No, he hasn't. So he's going to play a snooker. Obviously felt he was just too straight. I thought he had a tiny bit of angle to be able to punch it across. I like the shot he played, actually. It was really clever thinking, because Gareth has to have a bit of a punt at this, and of course, if he doesn't get it, he opens up the entire table. So Chris getting Gareth to do his work. Well, he's got the black moving, and that's all he could really do. Well, is he going to tie it up again? Has he had a touch here? Has he left anything? Yeah, just get through to the potting angle of the red past the other one. If he couldn't get through to this potting angle, this was a pretty ordinary leave. He hadn't really left anything. I think he can just get through. He's looked at it 2 or 3 times now. You can see him putting some right-hand side on the cue ball just to throw it. Just throws the object ball slightly. Now that red will pass into right middle. So let's. I was going to just take out these 2 at the top and then come down for that one in the middle. Keeping it simple. And Chris Melling, from being 3-0 down, has won 4 on the bounce, and it's now 4 frames to 3 in his favour. what a great touch. Tap on the table from Gareth, he recognises. That took a deft little touch, just to screw him behind. And this is tough. I mean, it's not tough to get out of, because there's a cluster of 3 yellows that you can aim at, so it's a fairly big target, but as long as he gets it on the right kind of line. But the problem is, there's nowhere safe on the table. Very much relying to luck here. He's tried to play with check side off the top rail. He knew that it was a fairly forlorn hope. Ball in hand anywhere on the table. Kind of surprised that he's not playing the one up the rail, but who am I to question? I mean, it's I guess it's one of those. It's sort of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, and that's why he didn't play the one that was up the rail. Absolute delightful touch, just to pot his difficult ball and move that one tricky ball. Really is Chris Melling at his glorious best. Just run out of things to say about him eventually. It's That's 5 on the bounce for Chris Melling, and he leads 5 frames to 3, having been 3-0 down.
Ninth frame. Chris Melling to break. Leading by 5 frames to 3. Time running.
Didn't get the timing. You saw him raise his hand. He just didn't get the power through the pack for some strange reason. It wasn't for the want of pace. He got plenty of power into it. For all of it being not the best of breaks, it hasn't come out too bad. think he was looking for a half ball contact to leave himself one of these reds at the bottom, but he always had this back up at the top of the table. And he just needs that to hold up, and he's, yeah, perfect. Don't think he could have played that much better. Wow. He's just, well, he's having a wry look there. I thought that was perfect from the angle we had. But maybe he can't quite get through to it. You see him loading this up with left-hand side, trying to turn the ball over. Just a little dink around. Still got the ball at the top of the table. If he does want to reroute and try again, I think I prefer that personally, and that's what he's going for. Yeah, left it much higher this time, taking away any chance of any mistake. So you can just drag this in. With the cue ball, from Gaz's perspective, there's not a great deal he can do. Needs to hold up. Yeah, he's fine. Didn't want to get anywhere near as close as that, but that little nudge, and he's good. And there we are, that's now 6 on the bounce. Jordan Shepherd is at risk of going out. He's 7-4 down to Rob Warren. Rob's on the hill against him. It's an odd one, isn't it? There's a chap, you know, that's never really performed at this event in Jordan. We keep expecting him to pop up and see him in a final, but makes deep runs everywhere, but can't seem to click here for some reason. It's a strange one. Look at that game right at the top. Liam Dunster versus Adam Basu. 7 frames each. That's still the hangover from losers round 2. That game started at 3:30. So they've been going 2.5 hours for those 14 frames. I think Melling and Sheppy played a similar amount of frames in about 45 minutes earlier on this afternoon. Unlike Liam to be in a really gritty game. So in off from Gaz again, and it's just going from bad to worse. James Graham's levelled it up against Mark Ball, 3 frames each. Sean Chipperfield carving his way through this field at the moment. He's had a really tough draw. He's currently 4-2 up against Jamie Burnett. 7 frames on the bounce for Chris Melling. And it's his break in frame 12. Makes that wing ball, that second ball in the left middle. Making that ball consistently off of his break. He was making it consistently against Jordan as well. His break is very much working for him at the moment. He's found the sweet spot. Wonderful again. Great touch. All of these things are just coming off for him. And it's there's no luck involved. Just looking at where he needs to be on that side cushion to land on the red. Doesn't need to play at the top left, it will also go to top right. I think it's easy to get on to top right personally. He preferred it to top left, and just look at that. Incredible. Just is incredible. 8 frames. 8 in a row. Nothing that Gareth can do but sit on and watch, and it looked like it was going to be the Gareth show when he was 3-0 up. But Chris has just stepped the entire game up.
Frame, Gareth Hibbott's break, trailing by 8 frames to 3. Time running.
It's just not happening for Gaz now. It's just dried up for him, and there is very little that he can do about this. It's just a procession, and you wonder how and whether it's even possible that he could get back into this game. It's just, and Chris is just playing too well. This is the best I've seen Chris play in a long time, in a very, very long time. This is Chris Melling at his absolute best. This really isn't a simple clearance. There's a lot of work to be done. And there's reds tied up. He's looking at moving one of them now. Well, he was looking at just flicking that red on the way through, and he didn't. He missed it. And that's why he's in a bit of no man's land now. I think he's probably going to play the double the ball in bulk. The only other option he's got is the long one down the rail, which isn't particularly attractive and doesn't afford itself a lot of benefits. If he plays the double, he can nudge out the other red just below it at the same time. So he's going to play a double, reverse double into the pocket above and try and just nudge this other difficult ball out. He's already used his extension. No, that's no good. So Gaz comes to the table. I mean, it's a pretty horrible layout. 1, 2, 3, 4 of his balls tied up. So he's using the rules to his advantage. That's the loss of turn. As long as you make contact with your own ball first, then yeah, Chris tapping on the table. He knows that was a really good, clever shot from Gaz. Not too many people would have seen that, but again, it comes down to the fact that you're watching two players here who are very, very familiar with these rules. Gareth is quite a regular in China. He travels over there a lot playing Chinese 8-ball, and that's a rule, as I say, that comes from that rule set. Chris also, well, he mentioned in the interview earlier, he's been across to China 7 times. So makes contact with his ball, but it's just opened up the table a little bit now. Now, from having 4 balls tied up, everything is pretty much in the open. There's that one difficult ball just adjacent to the left centre, but there are balls that he can use to get into that. He could use this ball to get into it straight away if he wishes to. It's exactly what he does. What a lovely touch. Really lovely touch. And frankly, I mean, Gareth hasn't really done anything wrong. It's just been a performance from Chris, and those first 3 frames, Gareth looked fantastic. Again, wonderful touch. Didn't play for the flick on the red. He would have played just to run past it, using his contact point as the other yellow, but either way, it's absolutely fine. Just needs to leave himself a little angle just to be able to get out, just to get up table, which he does. And I say that because the black looms large in the middle of the table, so he just needed that bit of angle just to be able to he'll play this with right hand side, just to bring the cue ball, just to drift the cue ball in the gap to the left of the black. His target point would probably be halfway between the black and the red. There you go. And that's not quite as simple because the yellow on the top rail, he needs to get from that back across table. So it just needs to be very wary. Well, there you go, and that ultimately has cost him. He knew that he was going to find it very difficult to get from the yellow on the top rail back across the table to the yellow on the right-hand side rail. I'm trying to get from one side to the other when a ball is tucked up on the top rail is really, really difficult. So he's tried to play that with top and side to bring the cue ball off the top cushion and come back down that side of the table. And putting the side on it, of course, when you apply side to a ball, it swerves the cue ball slightly. And that's the reason he's missed that pot, because he's put side on it. It's just over that distance, it can swerve it as much as half a ball. So you have to aim, you have to compensate for that. And when you're playing it at pace, it's always a little more difficult. And that's going to cost him another frame. Look at that. That's, again, a delightful touch. Just coming around the back of those two balls, this red in the middle. It's so, I mean, it's just lovely to watch. So natural. This really was Gareth's only opportunity to get back into this match. I don't think there's any way back from 9-3, 8-4. And he's given himself a sniff. But that's the difficulty. You've got to remember that Gareth's been locked out. He played 3 fantastic frames to open his account, and he's been locked out. He's been sat in his chair for the last 8 frames, doing absolutely nothing. So it was always going to be difficult to try and get going again there. And that's 9 frames to 3.
Leading by 9 frames to 3. Time running.
And I can tell you that Liam Dunster, one of the absolute favourites to win this event, having been 4-1 up in his match against Adam Basu, is out of the event. He's lost 8 frames to 7. Goodness me. I did say on commentary yesterday that I didn't think that Liam was at his absolute best, and hasn't been for a few weeks. So I did wonder, you do need to be on the top of your form in these tournaments. So the Scotsman is heading back up the motorway. What a win that is for Adam Basu. Brilliant. What a win. Darren Collison beat Brian Halco, so Brian can catch a lift with Liam Dunster. He'll be passing that area on his way home. Drop Brian off. So Brian's, we bid farewell to him. Also the Gloucesterman Rich Gifford is out of the event. Of course we saw Jack Whelan's out. Liam White, the local young man, is out. Ben Flack, there's some names already out. Ben Flack's out. There's also some cabbages. Adam Penwell's out. Steve Petty's on the hill against Craig Waddingham in winners' qualification. He is about to cement his place in that final 16. And he has done that. He's just won that last frame. 11 frames to 5. And 11 frames to 5 against Craig Waddingham. I saw people putting Ward in their bet. I wasn't going to touch that game because that really was a coin flip for me. Steve Petty is too good. Phil Harrison 5-4 up against Ray Bone. Declan Brennan 5-4 up against Shane Thompson. Sean Chipperfield 5-4 against Jamie Burnett. Tom Cousins 7-5 against Dave Fernandez. Dave is rallying in that game. I think he was 6-2 down. Jimmy Croxton locked up at 6-all against Arfin Dad. There's some great contests out there in the arena. Greg Batten is currently trailing Adam Davis 4-3, but he's fighting. Greg was 4-1 down in that game. So you can never count that chap out. Always trying hard. Rob Warren's through and Jordan Shepherd is on his way home. So Gareth just doing what he needed to do there. It's again, it's one of them. As long as you can keep your opponent off the hill, you got a sniff. But he needs to take every chance that comes his way. I mean, if you think about that last frame, that chance that he had, and that missed ball would be 8-5 now. Would be 8-5. Different game at 8-5. Adam Davis now 5-3 against Greg Batten. He's won the next frame. Dave Fernandez still fighting back against Tom Cousins. As I say, 6-2 down. It's now 7-6 to Tom. Gaz's break. He's going to go dry again here. Oh, wow. That is literally sat there. Sat there over the pocket. Didn't look for the world to be going in. It stopped moving. And then gravity took hold. It found its way in the pocket. And, wow, could that play a big part in this game? Chris's break has been one of the strongest I've seen so far. If it does dry up on him, these frames could be quickly reeled off. Yellows of the ball. Work to do. The one thing I love about Gareth Hibbott is his potting is incredible. He rarely misses a ball in open play. Just too much angle on the one down the rail to try and hold for the other yellow. If it was just straighter, he could. It would be just a little simple stun shot, just a little screw shot to hold for the yellow in the opposite. I don't think he can do that. No, I'm going to go up table. He's left a lovely angle here. He can now come back down. Left a nice angle on the one to the left corner. And he's just going to stun down, yeah, where his Q-tip was then. He wants to, he doesn't want to finish high. That's the only thing. He wants to finish low. And he's just looking now at, the options for the pattern. As I say, needs to finish low. Straight's okay, because he can screw straight back. I think he's just okay. Lovely. This has been brilliant from both players. In all honesty, it's a couple of try breaks and a couple of mistakes from Gareth that has really put them into this situation. And as I mentioned a moment ago, it just shows the importance of that missed yellow from Gareth, because you know he's on the comeback trail now, and this could have been for 8-6. It was a similar scenario with Jordan Shepherd earlier. No. You could see how disappointed he was. That was just a careless mistake. He just needs to miss that red. If he misses it, the cue ball's coming below the black to play it in the centre. And now, I mean, he knew he had to get below. I mean, that was just the cardinal sin. Had to get below, because it doesn't go anywhere. Doesn't go anywhere. You can't double it to top left. Can't double it to top right. Well, I may be able to double it to top right, but that's horrible. I think that's all he's got. And he's tried to double it to middle. Cardinal sin. And that really has been the difference, hasn't it? As I say, a couple of breaks and a couple of missed balls, a couple of mistakes. Well, not really missed balls. That he missed a yellow, but it's just those couple of positional shots that have let him down, really. and that's normally one of the strengths of his game. Gareth, similarly to Jordan Shepherd, has never really bothered the scorers. I mean, you know, in terms of getting into the latter stages, I think Jordan made one semi-final. Gareth, I can't remember. I mean, I know he's made the quarters, but whether he's got as far as a semi, I'm not sure. He's going to have to go through the losers section by the looks of things, because Chris Melling is on the hill and he only needs one more frame. Scores on the doors. We know that Steve Petty's already gone through. We know that Scott Gillespie's beaten Sean Story 8-2. We know that Rob Warren's beaten Jordan Shepherd 8-5. That's in the losers section. And we also know that Clint Jansen has beaten Mark Billingsley 8-4. The other live scores are on the screen.
Frame, Chris Melling to break, leading by 10 frames to 4.
Another huge break from Chris, and you saw that he broke cue ball on the bulk line. That was one of the things that he did mention, that he always puts the cue ball on the bulk line, because it allows, I mean, if you have it 3 inches back from the bulk line, then you've got 3 inches less travel with your cue, and that's when you pick up all the power. So having the cue ball on the bulk line means that you get right the way through the cue ball and get the maximum amount of power. That was one of the things that he did mention. He said he will always, if his break's failing him, he'll move the cue ball along the line, but never backwards into bulk. Always have the cue ball on the line. And this has been a bit of an exhibition, really. Kaz will know that there's not a lot he could have done. And there's a few chances he could have taken, and this scoreline could have been closer, but Chris is a bit like a wrecking ball at the moment. He's causing destruction to anyone who gets in his path. And the latest victim is Gareth Hibbott, and that's 11 frames to 4, and that frankly is a bit of a battering, but Chris Melling is at his best, and who knows, he could go on and go all the way. We're going to have a chat to him in the interview room in just a couple of minutes. We'll speak to you soon. Well, after a fantastic performance this morning against Jordan Shepherd, we didn't think it could get much better, Chris, but you've gone and done it again there, stepped it up a gear.
Yeah, played even better that game. 3-0 down, I've not really done a great deal, well, I've not really done anything wrong. I've made a ball on the break. I can only make one ball, but the harder I hit it, the less chance I ever get breaking my bad ball out. So I've had to play it slow, knowing that I'm going to leave the ball safe. Obviously made the ball, and then I was queuing over the ball. I felt it turned slightly, but that could have been like a finger mark or anything on the cloth. Yeah. You know, but other than that, I felt like I was faultless in the whole game. Yeah,
I mean, 3-0 down, Gareth looked good, didn't he? I mean, and you felt that it could easily get away from you, but, I mean, then what was it, 8 in a row?
I think it was 8 in a row, yeah. I mean, I had 2 scratches on the break which got kicked in off. Yeah. I actually controlled the ball pretty good, and it got kicked in off and a couple of dry breaks, but other than that, Gareth didn't do a great deal wrong.
He really hasn't. He's going to walk away from that thinking, what just hit me?
Yeah, that can happen. You know, like I've said before, you get 2 good players, and any given moment, either of them can go on a roll, and you could be 5-6 behind. I think the advantage I have is at the speed that I do it at. Yeah. It can be literally 10 minutes and I've won 5 or 6 games. Yeah. Yeah. You know, and that can intimidate opponents, which is what I try to do, but obviously it doesn't work all the time.
Yeah. Over the last couple of years in this series, we've seen moments of greatness. We've seen you. That kind of resurgence in patches, but we haven't seen it with this kind of consistency.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I've played bad in all the matches. I mean, I've had some terrible draws. I mean, we all moan about draws, and you know, genuinely, I have never gone through a stage where I've had top player after top player after top player. I mean, I've had Dunster twice, I've had Gillespie, Farnsworth, Appleton, Harrison twice. Cousins.
It's been horrible.
You just couldn't draw, you know, anybody better apart from Mikel, I guess. Yeah. Jordan, Hibbott. Yeah. You know.
But this is you back at your best, isn't it? This is you at the top of the game.
Yeah, this is how I played in 2000 to probably 2005. Yeah. You know, when I do it that gear, I'm very dangerous.
What's the difference?
I
mean, you said you're on a bit of a fitness regime. Is it? I mean, the thing is, for me watching. You feel like you're... I mean, it feels for me that you're just relaxed. You seem more relaxed than you usually are.
Yeah, I think a lot of it with me is my mentality. I went through a stage where, you know, I'm not going to lie to people. I couldn't be bothered playing. Yeah. Do you know, even though I was earning a living, I genuinely never practiced ever for a good 2 years. I mean, the gospel truth, I've hit a ball for about 2 hours before I came here since the last series. Yeah. You know, I've done an exhibition, that's it. Yeah. You know, but I'm always queuing, I'm always playing something where the last 2 years I'm consistently playing tournaments, whether it be 9-ball, Chinese 8-ball, English 8-ball. You know, I've not played snooker at all. So I think as long as you're queuing, you're getting a bit of confidence. And obviously the tables are playing great, so that helps. Yeah. You know, there's nothing worse than playing on a rubbish table and you're just battling everything then. But yeah, you know, I've gone through stages where... I've not made the best choices in life, let's say. But I think I'm back on the right track. I'm confident, I'm playing well, and who knows? Yeah.
I've always followed your career, Chris, and it's always a pleasure to watch you playing at this kind of level, really is, and long may it continue. Winners' qualification tomorrow morning, looking forward to it?
Yeah, you know...
not winners' qualification, final 16, of course, you're through.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not bothered who I play. You know, everybody's there to win the tournament. Yeah. Obviously, it helps if you get somebody who's not at the top of the rankings, who's playing well. But if you're going to win the tournament, you've got to beat the best players. It's simple as that. And I've never been afraid of beating a good player. I've never been afraid of winning the tournament.
And there's a couple of big names already gone out as well, so it kind of clears the path a little bit. I know, you know, you're not going to be worried about that, but I mean, Liam Dunster's just gone out to name one. You know, it kind of makes the field a tiny bit easier, doesn't it, when you see players like that?
Yeah, a little bit, but I'm a firm believer in it's all about how good you are, not how good your opponent is. Yeah. You know, and if you play great and you get beat, then you've got to hold your hand up and just say, look, I played well there. I mean, I could have lost to Gareth there. He played great to start with. Yeah. Made a few mistakes in the middle of the match, but I might have been 6-7-0 down myself. Yeah. You know, and there's nothing you can do about it sometimes. And you go home, you tell your friends, you know, I've got beat by so-and-so, and they'll say, well, how did you lose to him? You're a better player. But they don't understand that you might not get a shot in a lot of the games, and you can't win, no matter how good you are, if you're not getting a shot.
Absolutely, yeah. Chris, as I say, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks very much, and best of luck tomorrow.
Nick. Thank you.
See you.
We'll be back with the action from the losers rounds in, well, probably about 20 minutes, I think. See you soon.